We're set. Alrighty, let's call this meeting to order, please. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I didn't even forget a word there.
Beth, could we please have the roll call?
Sure. Commissioner Schlangen.
Here.
Commissioner Heinen.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Gopinski.
Here.
Commissioner Pop.
Here.
Thank you.
First order of business is to select a board chair for 2023. Are there nominations for chair of the Benton County Board for 2023?
Mr. Chair, I nominate Scott Johnson.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Are there any other nominations for board chair? Any nominations for board chair? It's been moved and second to nominate Commissioner Johnson as board chair. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you for your vote of confidence. We'll see how this goes.
It'll be interesting.
That was a nail biter.
It's like you knew.
All right, welcome to 2023. I hope it's going to be a great year. County board meetings are broadcasted live and video recorded on YouTube. Please refrain from speaking from the audience area and come to the podium so that viewers can hear you. County board observes Robert's Rules of Order for its meetings, so please obtain the board chair's consent before addressing the county board. Public comments are generally reserved for the open forum segment or public hearings. However, public comment on other agenda items may be allowed at the discretion of the board chair. As we begin today, please turn off your cell phones or put them on vibrate. Thank you. Another order of business, we're going to select a county board vice chair for 2023. Nominations.
I'll nominate Commissioner Gopinski.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to nominate Commissioner Gopinski for vice chair for 23. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Commissioner Gopinski, vice chair for 23. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to approval or amendments to our agenda. Monty?
We have one. It is the consider revisions to the Career Solutions Joint Powers Agreement. If you could please add that as the fourth item at 907 under County Administrator.
Okay.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair. Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to approve our amended agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it's carried. Open forum, anybody back there? I don't believe so. Move on from that. Consent agenda, what are your wishes? We've got items 1 through 10.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval.
I'll second.
A motion, a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, consent agenda is carried. Monty, you're up. Schedule the regular county board meeting schedule for 23.
Mr. Chair, statutes require us to establish the regular meeting schedule for the year. At this first meeting, once it's established and posted, then no further changes or posting requirements apply. This year, we have a couple exceptions to the normal first and third Tuesday pattern. The first would be July 5th. The fourth falls on that Tuesday. So we recommend moving the meeting to Wednesday, July 5th at 9 a.m. The second is in December, first meeting in December. The EMC annual conference is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that first week of December. We recommend moving the meeting to the Thursday at 6 p.m. That allows us also to combine the regular meeting with the Truth and Taxation public meeting. So otherwise, it would be the traditional first and third Tuesdays at 9 a.m. schedule.
Any discussion?
No. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adopt the dates for the 2023 meetings of the Benton County Board of Commissioners.
Second.
And a second. Any other discussion on the dates? Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Monty, consider an amendment to the agreement with the city of Sauk Rapids to provide ARPA funding or water sewer infrastructure subsidies.
Sure. Mr. Chair, several months ago, the board approved this original ARPA agreement to provide a subsidy For developers creating new residential lots in the city of Sauk Rapids, it was I believe, as I recall, a $7,500 per lot subsidy from the county. A maximum contribution of $250,000. The city has been to discussions with a prospective developer, and the city tells us that this developer wishes to increase the maximum selling price per lot from $49,900 to $54,000, I believe it is, $54,900, excuse me. $54,900. Again, that's a request from the city via its discussions with the prospective developer. The second change is the city would like additional time to record a final plat for these prospective new lots. The original agreement was it had to be platted by December 31st, 2022. The city requested that be extended to March 31st, 2023. So those would be the two changes, and I would invite Commissioner Heinen or Gopinski if you want to chime in on any other matters.
Monty, just for clarification, the maximum will be 350, not 250,
Excuse me?
350,000.
It's 350.
350, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Thank you
I
for
just
the
wanted to
correction.
clarify that.
Right,
Thank you.
Thank you for the correction.
Mr. Chair, with the noted change as there's bigger lots, and that's why they went up to 54.9, and then there's gonna be smaller lots, and then the smaller lots will be sold at a lower price.
Yep.
And they couldn't get the developer to get their development agreement finalized before December, so they wanted additional time. And they said that they're only a month away from doing all of this,
Correct.
getting everything corrected, so.
This will be a great project moving forward.
Yeah, I guess my only question was that, do they think, as lots increase, not that they can get these sold for 54,000?
Well, there's two of us here wondering the same thing, but at the
Okay.
end of the day, it's getting subsidized by both us and the
And the
city of
city,
Sauk
right.
Rapids, so it's a three-way partnership. So they do believe that these lot prices are gonna be sufficient.
And the developer has money in this as well,
Correct.
so it
Yep.
behooves them to move these and not hold on
Right.
to them.
Monty, maybe for clarification, the dollars that the county would subsidize up to 350, do those need to be spent by December of 26?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that condition still applies.
Okay,
As ARPA
so
funds.
if they're not far enough along, they may not receive all that? Is that a fair statement?
That's
Yeah.
very possible. That's
Of
true.
26 that we're talking.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I just
So,
wanna,
So, Mr. Chair, so once they start going into the process and getting the ground ready and putting in the infrastructure and all that, I think that's when our $750 lot's gonna kick in, Monty? Or is it gonna kick in when the lots are sold? That was the interesting question I had. I believe it's the infrastructure.
Correct.
It's all for the infrastructure.
Okay.
So that would be, could be used up in 6 months.
This infrastructure will be put in the ground
Yep.
and it'll make these lots sellable.
Right.
Right, so they're talking curb and gutter
Yeah.
and
Yep.
other stuff that goes with it.
Yep, correct.
But, we're not gonna sit there and control them, so say they sell a lot they have trouble selling them, and they can sell them for 40,000.
That's up to them.
That's up to them,
to
they
them.
still get the 7,500, correct?
Yep, correct,
Yeah,
yep.
well, that's.
We set a maximum of 54
Yeah,
It's a
nine.
max.
How about could they take a 40,000 lot and say we're gonna be, 6,000 under, so we could add 6,000 to the 54,000 lot if they had to?
So these are set prices, they
Yes.
can't go above that
They
price.
can't go at that price,
Yep.
huh? It seems
I
like a
believe-
little limitation there on my behalf.
Well, that's something they all agree to. I
Okay.
mean, every year the lot price can go up, I believe it's 3%.
Yeah.
Because of inflation.
Right.
Or however you wanna call that.
And
Very
Mr.
good.
Chair, I think the reason that we wanted to do this is we didn't want to subsidize
It's only.
putting additional
We're only
funds
gonna use
in
24.
developers' pockets. Yeah, so that's why it was important to have a maximum.
Maximum,
Yeah.
okay.
so it's fair to say we may not even subsidize that full amount.
No.
That is correct. I think the first portion, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I believe I gotta get used to this. I believe the first portion of it's only 24 lots.
Okay.
So that's roughly half.
Right. So they have up to 45 lots.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Do we need a motion for that?
Oh, yes, we do.
Please.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we amend the agreement with the city of Sauk Rapids and the developer to increase the lot size and allow for more ample time to get the developer up to speed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. consider that amendment with City of Sauk Rapids. Any other discussion, clarification?
Clarification on the lot size, can we, would you, mind moving that to like the lot cost
From
maximum
maximum lot cost,
instead of
of-
the size?
Correct.
Good.
I'm sorry.
maximum lots, cost of 54,900.
900.
900.
And I'll amend my second to
All right.
include that.
So we have amendment to that first and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Move on to item 3, consider a contract amendment with SRF Consulting for Parks Legacy Grant Post-Award Professional Services.
Well, again, the Benton County was awarded almost $800,000 by the Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission for improvements to Benton River Park. The next step is we must complete various reviews in order to enter into a grant contract with the DNR. Our partner in this has been SRF. They helped us apply for and get the grant. And they have offered to complete these required steps in order for us to enter into this contract with DNR. Those tasks are set forth in their work plan. It's things like State Historic Preservation Office review, wetlands review, environmental assessments, and so on. And again, those are items are set forth in the work plan on pages 2 and 3 of Exhibit B. Again, as I've been working with Paul Schrader, our contact at SRF, he's made sure that the things in this work plan match exactly with what DNR has to have to move to the next step. So basically, these are the essential elements that DNR is going to require us to go through to finally get the grant. The cost, $27,006. As you may recall, when we entered into this agreement originally with SRF, they told us about these costs that were coming, that there would be additional costs to satisfy all the DNR requirements to ultimately get the grant contract. And we set aside the resources in the CIP fund for this purpose. So it's there, and I think SRF did an incredible job for us getting the grant, and I'm sure they'll do excellent work in these next steps. So, Mr. Chair, we're asking for your approval of the contract amendment number 1 to complete the items in Exhibit B.
Monty, just for clarification, the page, 2 pages after your agenda item request, you've got estimated costs of $27,600. The amended one has got under item 4, compensation and term, there's $15,000 on there crossed out with $42,600 next to it.
I might catch up with you. What page do you
Section
want?
4, item 4, compensation and term.
So this is the grant, so what this represents is the grant. So there was the original contract where they applied for the grant for us.
Yep.
And this is tacking on the new amount.
New
for a
27,600.
new grand total contract, right? So we're amending the old contract and tacking on the new.
Very
Yep.
good. And then I would assume these grant dollars can be used to pay for the administration of this.
Here's what I'm told, is these costs incurred before we get the grant agreement are the county's responsibility.
So is it coming to the
But we
Parks
can
Commission
actually
then?
we can use a portion of the grant for the design costs. So once the contract is done and an SRF starts working on actually designing, for example, the shelter building, the trails, the playground, we can use a portion of the grant to help cover design costs.
So Parks Commission paid the original 15 and they're gonna pay the additional 27,600 or
Well, again,
who's paying it?
Yeah, it's in the CIP fund. And,
Okay.
And that's where we pulled the amount for the original contract was in the CIP
Okay.
fund, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I just wanted to be clear about it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, members.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
It's pretty ironic of how we got a designated regional park, about a year ago or 2 years ago, Monty?
In about a couple years, yeah.
And we applied for this grant, first time around, and we get it. You know, this is huge.
And it's a
This
considerable,
is
considerable amount of
huge.
money.
Yeah.
Correct. This is huge.
Yeah, it's really, think about it, between the grant and the local match, this is $1 million project at the park.
Right. We go a long ways for that.
Right,
park.
and, we got one former park member was on there, and that park, there was several meetings where they went through and itemized things to get it, and I think they kinda shot for the moon and hoping, and they got everything that we put on that list, which is pretty amazing.
Great.
You know, so, you know, we gotta thank the park commission that was,
Well, correct. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
ahead.
I'll get used to this. I agree, Commissioner Pop, but, you know, it all started creating a regional park with Stearns County,
that helped, yeah.
you know, so a partnership once again.
Yeah.
Right, what are your wishes?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve an amendment to the professional services contract with SRF Consulting to provide post-award reviews as required as a condition of receiving the Legacy Fund Grant for Bend in the River Park.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, for the contract amendment with SRF is presented. Any other discussion? Any other discussion?
I can't wait to see what we're gonna spend the money on.
Yeah, it should be good.
Well, they got a plan.
I've seen the plan and it looks good, so.
All right, I'm gonna call the vote. All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? It's carried. Monty, Career Solutions.
Mr. Chair, I apologize for the last minute nature of this. Apparently, Career Solutions would appreciate greatly if you would consider and possibly approve these amendments today. We attached a markup of the JPA, and as you see, there are actually a lot of changes. I think most of them are really more technical. They're updating obsolete terms and so on and so forth. One of the most substantive changes, I'm told by Tammy Beer, the executive director, is the method by which the Career Solutions selects its chair and vice chair. The change would allow a chair to continue serving for a one-year term. Apparently, right now, the chair has to rotate each year. This would allow the chair to continue serving for one-year term. So that was one of the more significant changes. And I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Heinen. I know he's been involved substantially in these revisions.
thank you, Monty. You pretty much said everything. I've been involved with this since a year and a half ago of trying to make these changes. We actually had a board member that was on the GPA, and he could not be on it. And I questioned that. And then that's when we started looking into these bylaws of the changes. And we have 2 commissioners from Stearns and 2 commissioners from Benton County, myself and Commissioner Schlungen, that are on this board. And we've been going through a lot of changes in the last 2 years that I've been involved with deeply. You know, so they're just looking for a resolution to keep that moving forward. So that there's, I don't know how to put that, just so everything keeps moving forward, because I've got a lot of stuff we've got to take care of again this coming year with attorneys and legal fees and everything else, you know. So this is just one option that they want to have.
I would assume their
So-
timeline is because you've got a meeting coming up and
We got-
it's established.
That is correct, and I can tell you that the Stearns Board already approved this, but
Okay.
their attorneys are also looking at it too. You know, so we too, as Benton County, can approve this, you know, and then let Michelle look at it, and if she's got questions or changes or something, we can always bring it back, because I'm assuming that's what Stearns is gonna do
I
too at
guess that
this
would be
point
my
in
thought.
time.
If
Yep.
there's gonna be a motion to approve this, that it gets, contingent upon the county attorney's
So
office.
just remember, we had I'm sorry, I'm speaking for Career Solutions right now. We've had our attorney do all of
okay.
this process already.
I would just think it'd be good for us to stay in our typical practice and, be able to follow that. That yes, our county attorney's office has reviewed it, it's ready to go, we're good to go. Because we typically
No,
don't-
I think what he's saying is if
typically
we can
don't get new
approve
Oh,
it.
contracts.
yes.
Yeah.
We approve
Yep,
it.
correct,
You
yep.
know.
No, I agree with
And
you on
because
that
of the
one,
timing
Mr.
of
Chair.
this,
Yep.
and then just, we can keep everything in the same order that we normally do, having that
Yep,
office
so,
review.
correct, I agree with you. Career Solutions just wants to have more in-depth of who to have as chair.
Sure, and that's
That's all.
fair.
Otherwise, excuse me, but was it always set like Stearns County, Benton County?
Correct, we always switched every year, so now Stearns this year has a brand-new person coming to the committee, you know,
Oh,
so.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so that's what that's what also made us do up this contract too, of
Sure.
course.
Well, and because it is a JPA, I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
Sounds,
in-
go ahead.
So in the past, I've been chair for 2 years, is it, Beth, over there?
Yeah.
2 years. So even last year, I've actually asked Stearns County if they wanted to be chair, and they said, go ahead, Steve, you can still be chair. We have no problems with that. You know, so that's kind of how it works in general.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the revised Career Solutions Joint Powers Agreement.
And I will second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried.
It is so much easier talking here.
All right, we're gonna move on. Christine, welcome. We've got a request for approval to redesignate our auditor treasurer the authority to designate depository banks for the Benton County funds.
Christine actually helped me, asked me to help kind of chime in on
Absolutely.
these agenda items, and I just want to welcome Christine to the county. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
It's good to
Morning.
see you.
Good
Morning.
morning.
Anyway, so you have two items here in front of you. They're routine items which the board considers every year. The first one is the county boards can delegate to the auditor treasurer or a finance official the ability to designate basically the county's banks, where the county's money goes. So this is really the first item, is giving the auditor treasurer the authority to choose which banks the county's money goes into. And you'll see in the resolution, those banks are listed. It also includes the Magic Fund. That is a municipal investment pool for counties. So that's, again, the item that we're asking your approval for today.
Mr. Chair. Monty, how long have we had these same banks?
You know, I'd do some research. These
Okay,
all, of
it's
course,
been a
are very
while.
familiar.
Yeah, they are.
They look very familiar. That's right. What did it say? All the usual suspects?
Yep. Well,
Yeah, Franzen, Falcon,
Yeah.
Malacca, Wells. These pretty much look like the same we've had year in, year out. Yeah, so.
All right. It's pretty straightforward. What do you wanna do?
make a motion to redesignate the auditor treasurer the authority to designate depository banks. Sign resolution and designate depository banks for Benton County.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second for that designation for the auditor treasurer. Any other discussion?
I guess my discussion or comment would be that we've always looked at where Benton County can make the most money on its funds.
Yeah.
And that would be a great decision to make sure that we get the best bang for the buck on which bank.
And the rising interest rate environment, we should be seeing.
Seeing a substantial increase in.
And I know, in my time here in the past, I think we had discussion with Nadine. At one time, there was a couple of other accounts, extra
Right.
accounts, and so we tried to shrink them down a little
really?
bit, so there's
Yeah.
not 10,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, there was,
office to have to reconcile and keep track of. So I think in the future, maybe that's some discussion we could have once you get.
I know oftentimes the consideration has been fees.
you're right.
Because obviously, with the resources that are going through our banks, there could be substantial fees. I know that's sometimes guided the decision about which banks we have chosen.
Sure.
Is the fee structure. So,
So, Mr. Chair, Monty, help me remember why we have so many banks.
I'm gonna speculate here. My best bet, it's a collateral issue. So every dollar we have in the bank has to be backed up by some form of collateral.
Okay.
And sometimes a really small bank cannot cover what we need. Because you think about it, there's certain times of the year, there's a lot of cash sitting in the bank. And a smaller bank probably can't provide sufficient collateral to cover that. So in many instances, and you've gotta spread the money out so banks can meet the collateralization requirement. That's a typical reason. And I'm sure there's others, historically, I've given all local banks a share of the business. That's probably one of the considerations from the past. But my best response would be the collateralization is the biggest concern.
Mr. Pop?
So and I understand that, and another deal is the workability of the people at the bank that you're working with. I understand that in the past, that's been a big issue
Sure.
on how easy they are to work with, how easy, things go.
Of course,
Go
customer
forward.
service is important, absolutely, yeah.
Mr. Chair, just so you know, Christine, we're trying to help you out here.
Yeah.
Understanding of this.
Thank you.
And with that, certainly encourage you to, let's talk again if we need to about that,
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'm sorry with all the discussion. We had a motion and a second. All right, I'm gonna call that question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Move on to request approval of the designation of the official newspaper for Benton County.
So at the first meeting of the year, the board chooses its official newspaper for the publication of the minutes, the financial statements, the delinquent tax listing, and all other required publications of the county. And historically, the county has published in both the Benton County News and the Sauk Rapids Herald. So I guess at this point, we would ask if you would consider designating both the Benton County News and the Sauk Rapids Herald as the official newspapers of Benton County.
All right, you've got the request.
Mr. Chair, these were under sealed bids. Were these the only ones that applied?
I'm sorry, I don't have those here, the bids in front of me. We've got to locate those.
I was just asking a question, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Typically, historically, that has been very true as we receive the bids from the Benton County News, Sauk Rapids
Right.
Herald. Yeah. So, the board has chosen for many years now to publish in both papers. I think the interest there is ensuring that the broadest exposure to, county proceedings and so on. That has been the desire, I believe, although again, it's not required. Actually, there's only one instance I can think of where we're required to publish in two papers, and that's the annual financial statements. Those must be published in two newspapers. As you probably have seen,
Yeah.
it takes up like 2 or 3 pages of the newspaper, but that's the only one that has to be published in two papers.
All right, I'm gonna
Mr.
move,
Chair, I'll go.
Commissioner Pop.
So I know we had the discussion a few years ago, and it was only the Benton County News at that time.
Yep.
And then we moved to the Sauk Rapids because of the amount of, circulation, and the Benton County News was actually, on the decrease for the number of people that did it, so it was kind of a, it's an added cost, but I think it's well worth it to the residents of Benton County.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Heinen.
so the Benton County News is in the rural area and the Herald is in the cities area?
The Herald goes to everybody in the Sauk Rapids address, the Rice address, so it's not as rural or as urban as it used to be.
Urban, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
it gets out, I bet the Sauk Rapids Herald covers pretty much almost half of the county, I would think. And it's free, it's a free subscription, so.
That's how I classified both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're not trying to pit us against each other, are you?
No,
okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, no.
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Heinen.
do you have how much we paid each of these, to Sauk Rapids and the Benton County?
It's in the packet.
What is the total that goes to each one?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Selling, I don't, are you asking like how much we paid in total to each paper in 2022? Is that
Right.
what you're-
Page 69.
This is the one?
70,
She
it's
included
got
it.
all of this stuff. So it's all in front of you of what everything was used and what was.
Starting
paid
on
out
page
monthly.
69, the spreadsheet breaks down the
Yep.
costs.
Okay, that's the
All the
total.
way, all the
That's for
way.
both of them? Or just
It
one?
goes through all three of them. There's like 7 pages of a spreadsheet
Yeah,
and it goes line item.
it's like 51,803 in 2022.
So those at the end, that's the total for everything?
It's the total of the columns, yep.
Okay. All right, that answers my question.
It appears to be the answer is, 51,803 in 2022 too. And this had been both Benton Counties and Sauk Rapids
Yep.
Herald.
I'm gonna move to designate the Benton County News and the Sauk Rapids Herald as the official newspaper of Benton County for 23.
Second,
It is a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? It's carried. Thanks, Christine.
thank
Have a
you.
great day.
Have fun.
All right, we're within a minute. I suppose we better wait for our clock. Do we need to wait for our 9:30 Human Services Board? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I was trying to stall you, Mr. Chair, because you were moving way too quick. But that's fine.
We'll just give it a minute.
There it is.
All right, we've got 9:30. Thank you, Commissioner Kapinski. Going to call our Human Services Board to order. We need to select a Human Services Board Chair for 2023. Are there any nominations?
Mr. Chair, before we do that, Monty, can you explain in the past of how it was chosen to be the Human Services Chair? And the chair moved on.
Well, I know in the past, the county board vice chair was usually always the human services chair. That was typically the progression. I don't necessarily recall exactly how Human Services Chair, it often been sort of like a seniority rotational kind of system in the past. So someone would maybe start out as Human Services Vice Chair, move to Chair, and then move to County Board. You know, that had been the rotational system based upon some to extent his seniority. But I should stress, I mean, there's nothing in statute which says how it has to be done. It is totally at the board's discretion how you choose a chair and vice chair. Totally at your discretion.
I just
But I
wanted,
think that's important. I'm not a, you know, I don't think you have to be, you know, felt compelled to follow past practice.
Right.
It's always a new day.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to understand how that system came into play, that's all.
Sure.
You know,
Mr. Chair, so with that understanding and stuff like that, you know, I know Commissioner Heinen is huge into the human services stuff that goes on. And so, you know, I think maybe we need to venture into our own little way of doing things.
Well, and I would maybe add that may be a good area where we start considering that if he continues in that role, that may be a continued role going forward. You know.
Yeah,
where
or if
we're
we-
not tying our hands and saying every year we're gonna potentially renominate somebody new who's
Right.
had experience in human
It's
services.
who's serving them, that entity of our
Right.
county.
Right.
And, you know, and who attends, you know, the human services stuff at the
You know,
AMC
and I'll
stuff.
admit, as Human Services Board Chair in 2022, I had very little to do except
Right.
forwarding documents to county staff to
Right.
DocuSign.
Yeah,
So where he was sitting on Human Services Committee.
committees across, you know, across the region and the
So-
state. So I don't think that's a,
Consideration.
yeah, I think that's very much consideration and,
Was that a motion?
yeah, I'll make that a motion that we nominate Commissioner Heinen
Okay.
for the Chair of Human Services, if that's
23.
okay with Commissioner
Yep,
Kapinski.
I'll second that.
All right. Got a motion, a second, for Commissioner Heinen for Human Services Board Chair for 2023. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll
It's
abstain.
carried. All right, we're gonna turn it over to the Human Services Board Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now I'll call the order, the Human Services Board. First on the agenda, select a vice chair for 2023. Nominations for vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I will nominate Commissioner Schlangen.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, approve or amend the agenda. Bob? Bob,
You're muted, Bob. Oh.
no additions?
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Set the 2023 Human Services Board meeting dates and times.
I can cover that, Mr. Chair. So essentially, the schedule mirrors what you just adopted for county board, except a 9:30 start time. Otherwise, it's the same.
Thank you, Monty. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Consent item, we just have one. What would the board like to do?
Move approval?
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Bob, anything to add?
No, I don't have anything to add today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
With
Mr.
that,
Chair?
oh, go ahead, Commissioner
Do
Schlangen.
we need to set the other ones that we do on the Mondays for the updates?
Follows the board, it follows the board meetings. Oh.
Usually we have that human services meeting that we go to once in a while upstairs.
The cows.
Oh, that's the cows.
The cows.
Yeah.
We haven't
set them.
established those yet.
We haven't established them yet. That's further in our agenda.
Mr. Chair,
All right.
I just want to mention, hey, Bob, could you stick around with us so we can set those quarterly Human Services Committee of the Wholes? Can you stay with us?
So that's all.
Yes, I will.
That's set
Thank you,
down
sir.
below here. Okay.
Thought it was in there.
Okay, nothing else in front of us. I'll adjourn our Human Services Board and turn it over to our regular board chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Heinen. We'll reconvene our regular board meeting. Move on to commissioner meeting updates.
I'll start. I had nothing except for union negotiations.
Okay. Who wants to go next?
I can go next. I have had, not much either. I've had some personal things going on, so, I appreciate, all the support.
All right. Commissioner Pop?
About the only thing I had is we had the Rice Chamber meeting and, little heads up that there's probably gonna be a developer from, 48 lots in Rice that's gonna come before us for the same thing. Kinda in the same mold that they couldn't, the lots were, there was no money left after buying the property, doing the curb and gutter and all this, and with, little help, they will probably have a builder in there sooner than later and
Nice.
selling them all.
Great. Look forward to talking to him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else?
And labor negotiations.
Okay. Commissioner Schlangen?
I had no meetings.
Okay.
Was just gonna mention about, Transportation Alliance has some meetings coming up for this year.
Okay.
They're gonna have a day at the Capitol on March 1st. And then there's the, Minnesota Transportation Conference and Expo, that's May 15th to 17th. I know one of our meetings is in the middle of that, but just letting you know that they're having a couple things going on.
All right, thank you. I had two meetings, as you recall, in our consent agenda. Item number 6 was a resolution to disband the Water Resources Advisories Committee. So I met with Jerry and the existing RAC last week, and obviously we came to the determination that because of the new Watershed One plan, especially now with the Mississippi, that the Citizen Advisory Committee, which is established through that program, will basically be taking over what the RAC used to do. And the RAC really hasn't even met in well over a year. And so, long story short, you probably read it in your consent agenda, the letter from Chairman Jim Rao from the RAC, disbanding the Water Resource Advisory Committee. And we did make very clear that we wanted to make sure that anybody who was on the RAC had the opportunity to apply to continue to be on the Citizens Advisory Committee. Those committee members will be submitted to the Policy Committee, and the Policy Committee for the 11 different LGUs are going to pick the representation from different counties. So we wanted to make sure we had as many potential people from Benton County and all different areas from the county to sit on that Citizens Advisory Committee. But my understanding is through the memorandum of agreement, there's not a guarantee of the number of representations from each county. So that policy committee will select out of every LGU's submission, who's gonna be sitting on that committee. So I just wanna make sure you understood that.
There couldn't be an equal amount?
Well, they're gonna try to get 2 from each one, but my understanding in that MOA is there's not a guarantee of it.
Yeah,
And so we wanted to present them with the most give them 10 names so they've got something to pick from and interview from to establish that Citizen Advisory Committee through the watershed plan.
so how big is that?
There's 11
11 counties?
and water conservation districts.
And
So
water
there's 11 local government units.
That gets to be a big group.
Well, not only that, but from what I've seen in the past is that you have some dominant entities and some that ain't, and it seems like the dominant ones always manage to work their way into more members. So, and then my next question, Mr. Chair, is, so at one point we had to update the water plan a number of years ago, and they did that, and that was part of that committee's, it took several
RAC.
times, so who's gonna do that?
That'll all be, my understanding, that'll all be done through the watershed plan. That's all moved away from the RAC into the watershed plan.
Okay,
That's the way the state has gone as a whole, all these,
yeah,
and
and it's working in some areas and it's not working in some areas, is what I hear.
you're absolutely right. There's
Yeah.
different personalities involved in 11
Yeah.
LGUs. And,
I guess my suggestion was make sure you have strong candidates.
we tried to make it very clear that they're looking at, we just established our 23 calendar, right?
Yeah.
Stearns County is the first and third Tuesdays of the month also, right?
Right.
So don't schedule policy committee meetings when board members can't be there. Like, for instance, I'm the person on that. If I can't go, you're the alternate. Well, if we're having meetings, neither one of us are going.
Yeah.
So they need to realize that. There's a
Right.
little bit of an attitude about that, and so I think that needs to get headed off at the pass right away.
Well-
And they are doing an official kickoff of the Mississippi Watershed One Plan, January 31st. And so far, it's scheduled at the Sherburne County Historical Center, but that may be changed.
Okay,
And they haven't officially, to my knowledge, picked a board chair yet, so.
okay.
That's the only thing I had. Any other comments, updates? All right. Comments by commissioners, concerns?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Move on to setting committee of the holes. Monty?
Sure. We have three things to suggest to you. The scheduling, the employee forums for the year. Looks like last year we had three, and those always have coincide with county board meeting days. So I think we start at maybe 8 o'clock. Maybe we could push that a little bit later. So wanted to see if you want to continue those. If so, when would you like to set them?
I think we should
My
continue.
first thought is we should continue them. I guess my question is, do we need three with the lack of attendance? Should we go to two or should we stick with three? I'm fine either way. I just throwing that out there. I'd like to, obviously see more attendance to it, but there hasn't been a lot of attendance, and so
Yeah.
I'm open. Maybe it's important that we
I guess-
take the high road and
And offer three?
and offer
Yeah.
three.
Yeah,
That's
probably.
fine. Okay.
I think every 4 months is
Okay.
good, gives them
So
opportunity.
when would you want,
8:15?
would you want to start the first one?
April?
Yeah, April.
So the first one is
I just
April?
think March gets to be really busy for people.
You're gonna do April,
So first one is April,
yeah.
Would be April 4th
April 4,
at 8. Should we try 8:15?
Yeah,
8
Yeah.
when?
8:15.
8:15.
Give people a
Okay.
chance to get in their offices or
Mhm.
whatever and get going.
So then, 4 months later, the August?
August 8th at 8:15.
8. Okay.
But then we get into December, don't we?
I,
We almost have to move it into November.
do it late
deer
in
hunting.
November.
So later November,
Yeah.
second meeting.
Yeah.
21st?
First, okay. Same time, okay. All right, got it.
Okay.
Sounds good, thank you.
uh,
Now, Bob, if you could join us then for the historically, the last few years, the board has had quarterly committees of the whole with dedicated exclusively to human services. They've been up in the third floor conference room. Bob, you want to lead us with that one?
Yeah, we've historically had January, April, July, and October, the first Monday. And I know last year, it seems like the last few years, there have been conflicts with several of those dates right out of the gate. So I came into this thinking that maybe we could just shift this to February, May, August, and November, the first Monday of the month.
Okay, so you're looking at February 6th?
Yes.
Ooh. The first Monday in November usually is hunting.
Yep, and we can maybe adjust that.
We can,
I have a potential conflict on Monday the 6th. It's not in stone yet, but it is, well, I think we should set it.
I think we can, Mr. Chair, I think we can go ahead and set it and then
Yep.
just move it as it gets closer,
Sure.
because that's what we've been
Yep,
doing in the
that's
past.
good point. So February 6th, and then what was the next day? And I'm sorry, 9 AM?
Well, that's up to whatever the board wants. We've historically
Does-
had them at 10 to noon, but I think people, the board had expressed that they would like to have it earlier. So I'm fine with whatever
Mr. Chair.
the board would like to see.
Commissioner Pop?
I guess I would rather see what the employees prefer, whether it's 9 or 8, does it give them ample time to get to work and get there? 'Cause
You have thoughts on that, Bob, from the employee perspective?
Well, I think 8 o'clock on a Monday morning might be a little challenging just
Sorry.
because.
How about 9 to 11 then?
9, 11?
That'd be fine.
Okay. Let's set them at that, 9 to 11, starting, so February 6th, and your next date was,
February, May, August, and November.
so,
The 8th.
May
May
8th?
1st or May?
Oh, I'm sorry, May 1st. August,
That's that
Seventh.
Transportation
Seventh, yeah.
Alliance on May 1st, day at the Capitol.
Well, let's take a look at, let's set these and then deal with them as it gets a little bit closer.
So we didn't set the fourth one then?
February,
to set-
May, and then August.
And then August, so August, 7th. And then November, Bob, we probably should go towards, get away from the first two Mondays, maybe we need to get into the 20th.
Okay,
Yeah,
Novem-
that'd be fine.
November 20th.
got it.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, so just to recap, February 6th, May 1st, August 7th, and November 20th. All at 9 o'clock. And we can revisit those dates as it gets closer if we need to move them.
Correct.
That'll work.
Okay, thank you. Monty,
Thank
anything
you.
else?
Yeah, the last one would be, the concept of having joint meetings with the cities and townships. I believe there was a consensus to target them for April and June. As I recall.
You know, and yeah,
Don't they usually say?
that just reminded me of something that, I don't know, it's a little late now, but we had talked about moving some of our county board meetings to evenings. And I thought about that because these
Well,
are
no,
gonna have to
not-
be evenings.
Evenings, I was more concerned of moving it to a different site.
But don't you think it'll need to be evening?
Of course, you still can. If you decide later, we can, of course, we just have to post
Post
that
it,
we're
okay.
changing the time and
Meeting place.
the location. We can do that,
So
sure.
cities and townships, that meeting's gonna have to be at night.
Yeah, no doubts.
And would that meeting be in-house here then, I'm assuming?
I think we'd move
No,
around
we,
for that.
I think we talked about
Move it.
potentially moving like to one to each city, like Foley, Sauk Rapids, Rice,
Gilman.
Gilman, yeah.
How many times? I don't think we need more than 2 times a year. I don't think the attendance will be big enough for more than two times a year.
What's your
'cause we-
thoughts about starting with twice? And we do have our spring and fall
Oh,
township.
yeah, and so we
Yeah.
staggered away from them.
Right. Thoughts?
I definitely think it would be good to get out there and do a couple of them.
I would assume our fall one's in September usually,
Yep.
towards the end.
They have February
In September.
and September is when they're, so.
That's why I picked April and June, yeah.
Okay.
So April and June.
What about Monday evenings? Typically pretty good for those that have any students in school. They're probably not at
Yeah.
events. I think it has to be a Monday or Wednesday evening or we're gonna run into,
Well, would it make more sense to do it when they have their township meeting, wherever we go? Or not?
No, I don't know. Sometimes they have, speakers from their state association and that speak at them too.
and things on their agenda.
Yeah, they have an agenda that they want.
Just trying to make it a little more convenient, for
Yeah.
them too.
Yeah,
Yeah. Are we doing townships or are we doing cities?
I think we should open it to
All
both
the
at the
above.
same time. If we did did one in the city of Sauk Rapids, we could open it for the cities and the townships at the same time, wouldn't that
And
work?
I don't believe cities or townships meet on Monday evenings.
Some.
Yes, Rice does.
Rice does, okay.
I
Do you know
don't
which
First
Monday?
and third, I believe, or first and fourth, but I know it's the first. Or don't you think that's a good idea to have the cities and the townships together? That's just throwing it out.
Just a thought. I know Amanda goes to a lot of these and has the dates.
Yeah.
What happens if we were to table this talk until we get the actual dates and everything and try and
That's a
quote,
good idea.
cause we can move it with posting, is it 10 days or something like
Three.
that?
Just 3.
3, so,
Yeah, but I would mention,
You have to
we'd need a pretty abundant notice for
Yeah.
folks though, yeah, to get it on their calendars.
You were saying Amanda would have a schedule
Amanda has-
fairly soon
yeah.
anyway.
Maybe she could just present, or not, she doesn't need to be here, but we get that information from her for our next meeting
Yeah.
and set it then.
I'm sorry, what's Amanda's connection to this issue?
no, she knows all the meeting dates and everything like that usually, cause she
Oh.
goes out and meets with all of them.
Okay.
So like, what we're getting at is if we set the first Monday in April, we could have half of them having meetings that night. and We
Oh,
don't, we
sure.
don't know that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I need to connect with Amanda then.
And get their meeting, their meeting dates, so we
Okay.
don't
Understood, all right.
top of it.
Mr. Chair, even ask her suggestions on what date would work the best for her. She thinks would work the best.
She would know.
Okay,
Yeah.
so bring this back to
On the 17th.
maybe the next board meeting
Yep.
then,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha, all
We-
right.
we'd probably have
That's
to-
all we have then.
We'd probably have to involve her anyway on topics to talk about.
Yeah, that's true.
So we have some consensus to move that to the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else for cows?
No, that's it.
Is there a motion to accept the ones we have?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to accept the cows. I'll just review them quickly. Employee forums, April 4th, August 8th, and November 21st at 8:15. And our human services meetings, quarterly, February 6th, May 1st, August 7th, and November 20th, all at 9 a.m. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Members, anything else?
Mr. Chair, Monty, the handbook, Commissioner's handbook,
It's on your agenda for review Friday.
Friday it is.
Yeah,
Okay,
at the-
that's where I
at-
seen it. I
Yep.
apologize.
Yeah,
Just gonna friendly remind everybody, you should have got your cow packets for Friday.
Yep.
yes.
Discussion about our committee assignments
Yep.
packet and
Yep.
GLT
That's
stuff.
on your agenda. It's, the first thing is committee assignments, and then handbook, and then GLT at 10.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, anything else?
And then a wedding at 4.
And a
I
wedding
gotta
at
go to a
4?
wedding at 4.
Is there a motion?
To adjourn, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. We are adjourned.